Thank you, Mahesh. Thank you for everyone for showing the patience to for all these presentations. It's been extremely insightful. And like Mr. Rajiv said, everybody has practically covered all the points. So it's kind of tricky for me to begin and say what we are just adding on to the same thing. So what I'll take the liberty of making this a little more shorter presentation because again the initial data that I wanted to share was also on the same lines talking about PEB, but being from the design industry and being an architect, I think what we normally end up doing is having a fundamental knowledge of how the structures would work, conceptually integrating it with the experts and trying to make something that is viable, more modern age, and technically more sound. So, the way I wanted to cover this topic was largely at the design parameter, talking more about how these prefabricated structures, which largely all of you have covered in the sense of housings and industrial sheds, I would like to just add a little more perspective as to how these PEB structures can be visualized in a more dynamic way to give better and more design oriented solutions around it. So I'll just share my presentation. So I'll make this a little quicker if you all are good. The benefits of PEB construction is speed and control. Like we all know, it has a tighter tolerance than RCC. We can always have, millimeter to millimeter accuracy level, like Sir said, and we can always fabricate them, bring them together, and have a good execution. Parallel workflows, like we all discussed, we can do MEP plannings, fabrication, foundation work, everything can happen simultaneously. Now, buildings are assembled like products, and time compression is, important here. Labor issues are resolved. We all have spoken about this also. Data-driven fabrication using the CNC gives us absolute accuracy in terms of the this thing, the final product. Now, what is actually happening is the industry shift from design to build to design and build strategy. In this segment, what we are currently seeing is design for manufacture and assembly that is largely happening with PEB structures. The next engineering leap that we have seen is control. Control of the entire industry in the way we see it, we perceive it, from the stage of manufacturing, from the design stage to the manufacturing and to its execution. So this is the real leap that we have seen is the next shift in the industry. Like you have said, it's a BIM driven execution, real time tracking with the digital twins. What we see on the screen absolutely happens over there. Integrated solar and smart roofing systems explained by everyone else. We've also seen advanced envelope systems like the skin systems we've seen. There's a lot of insulation that is smartly integrated these days in the skins. And this has evolved and gone to a next level to which I would like to cover. We've also spoken about the AI driven construction planning. This is largely helpful in a larger scale of construction that we are seeing these days, which is, beyond the whole housing and the industrial. But when we are talking about how the AI, the softwares help us in designing something parametric, in designing something that are moving elevations and scales, everything comes from a prefabricated notion, from a prefabricated fundamental principle of construction. But the way it has gone forward is absolutely very forward moving pace that we are going, and that's why we are integrating AI in our future works. What has changed in the steel sheds? I would say here, parametric and performance driven designs. PVs are no longer standardized kits like we used to do in the industrial sheds predominantly. They're increasingly being designed using parametric tools to respond to the winds, to in coastal areas, in the tunnels that we are using them. And these have also allowed us to grow enormously in creating larger spans that we conventionally have seen and observed, not just in the length, but the spans that we're talking about. So, what my shift that I have observed in this particular conversation that I would like to address is that the shift has come from the industry to various other places, like Mr. Rajiv also said, to commercial, institutional, and habitable spaces, where this fabrication is no longer limited to just very repetitive sheds. Even in the housings that we see, they are very repetitive modules, because the apprehension, or rather the limitation of design that was referred to earlier, that it has to be stackable, it has to be very in a repetitive form, we are slowly breaking from it. India is a little slow, or we are catching up in the sense of redefining this space. But at certain places, we are doing certain projects where we are working on this particular fundamental, where we are designing many structures that are absolutely, different in shapes, but they are repetitive, and we are encouraging our designers to, think beyond. So all these things are forming from the stage of prefabricated notion that can be brought onto the site, assembled, modular, looked upon, seen with the help of various technologies, that what we draw on the paper, what we draw on our softwares absolutely gets imitated on the real time execution scenarios. So this is what I would like to bring your notice upon. The structures that we see above, which is on the left side image, here we are largely addressing the same prefabrication notions that we are talking about. It's just that these things are to be rethought of, they are to be reimagined, and all these implementations are visibly seen today in India, especially in the form of new airports and stuff, so many new structures that we are seeing. So this is what we are largely encouraging our teams to develop, using the various softwares with as much precision. And here I would like to just bring to your notice that design freedom is now no longer restricted by execution challenges. That is where the prefabrication industry has given us the kind of freedom. The softwares have given us a kind of freedom. And here I would like to add one more twist, is that everybody has spoken about how the prefabrication notion is largely restricted, and the first thing that comes to your mind is steel. I would like to drift this notion with you and say that, we are actually executing some projects where all this entire prefabrication stuff is also being executed in wood. We are working on projects where we've used wood in a very dramatic way, which is all prefabricated, whether it is in India, whether it is abroad. We are producing these and we are bringing them over here, executing the projects, and it is absolutely smooth. So that change has all the industry has already seen. We are not looking at mass customization, but we are encouraging, and not even mass production, but we are talking about mass customization. We are talking to drift from modules to meaningful spaces. That is where the shift has to come in the way we talk about the prefabricated structures. The shift, like I said, the shift from identical repetition has to change to intelligent variation. In this screen that you see, this is one of our concepts that we had proposed in our college times, and we had won some national recognition around this. The agenda to put this slide over here was that 22 decades ago, in college, when we had visualized the stadium having this kind of a roofing, it was a bit of a task to imagine this being executed as easily. On the contrary, today, if some kind of a model like this is to be presented, we all know that something like this can be easily executed without any, stress, in the sense of the limitations will not be seen. So that's a very beautiful shift. Evolving engineering of PB construction in a modern age. We are also talking about, this is a structure that we are talking that has seen a shift. We are talking about parametric modulation of engineering, and a combination of this structural ease and the prefabrication industry going to the next level, where we see such structures coming up in public areas, in commercial areas, and not just the housing segments. We are also seeing them in very creative ways. So, and these are all executed projects not by us, but globally, which just talks about that the PB structures have to and can be and have already been redefined at a very different level. So this is our, insight into the subject as to how roofing systems are also to be modified, can be rethought of, and all of these systems are fully integrated with all the MEP, facilities and the structural compliances, as well as adding to a lot of aesthetics. Lastly, I would like to say that prefabrication is no longer just a method of building faster, large scale structures. It is becoming a method of building better with intent and intelligence. What was once engineered for efficiency is now reimagined for experience, where parametric design and prefabrication come together to create buildings that are not only faster to construct, but all these buildings are richer in performance, precision, and architectural expression, which is what we encourage. I would like to thank you all for giving us a beautiful contribution to this entire concept. And as a designer, I would like to give my, uh, you know, uh, insight into this whole thing, that we would love everybody's, feedback on what do they like about this whole idea of taking PEB structures to the next level and giving India also a newer shape which takes us globally abroad.